It turns out that that wasn't a gimmick at all, John. The man meant exactly what he said on Trophy Day. Celtic mean business.
When you become champions, then the target on your back becomes even bigger.
Not bad. Celtic only scored 9 goals.
Real Madrid, RB Leipzig, Shakhtar Donetsk.
That was pretty much perfection, wasn't it?
Celtic have beaten Hearts by 4-3 at Tynecastle.
I was pretty wound up by some of the stuff I saw tonight.
It's a proper goal of the season contender for me. These games just take so much out of you.
We need to drop points 5 games out of 7.
Yeah.
So we're going to win the league.
Champions again, ole ole. Champions again, ole ole. Celtic have just won their 5th treble in 7 seasons, Stephen. Hello everyone, how are the hangovers? Well, there is no time to be hungover because we're moving forward. We've just beaten Rangers, we've got Real Madrid coming up in a couple of days, and if all of that isn't enough, then the fact I'm wearing this Socceroos jersey means that we have a former Australia international on the channel, and it's a pretty special one for you today with one of Australia's biggest names ever. You don't have to be an Aussie to know who Mile Jedinak is. You're actually in Scotland at the moment doing a bit of looking at players and all that kind of stuff. Did you manage to catch the game at all yesterday? Because we're all a little bit excited about beating Rangers 4-0.
Yeah, listen, I got to watch some of the game yesterday, albeit not all of it, but yeah, obviously a very, very positive outcome for the Celtic team ahead of the game on Tuesday.
So we thought we could get you to announce who the next guest on the channel is. So who's starting tomorrow, Mile?
So yeah, the guest starting tomorrow is a good mate of mine and a former Celtic legend, Joe Ledley.
Okay everyone, we have just beaten Rangers, and then tomorrow there's the small matter of Real Madrid coming to town. And if all of that wasn't enough, we have got Super Joe Ledley joining 67 Hail Hail. Joe's going to be with us from time to time. This is what the league table looks like, everyone. We've got a 5-point advantage over Rangers now. Livingston to come up next at Celtic Park. Joe, it kind of feels to me like the whole 5-point thing has gone a little bit under the radar here, I guess because it's so early in the season, because we've got Real Madrid coming up. But we're in a brilliant position now, 5 points clear after 6 matches, and it doesn't seem like the team are going to throw away daft points in any games. I mean, we may, but this is looking good in terms of winning the league again, albeit that it's very early.
Yeah, like you said, it is very early, but you want points on the board, and Celtic have done it the right way. You can't be dropping draws away from home or at home. You've got to get the points on early, and it makes a massive difference. These players are one of the best in the world, and that's why the club like Madrid. I do believe that I don't think it's the strongest Real Madrid team over the last few years. With players which have gone and left, but they're top of La Liga for a reason. Same as Celtic being top, in the Scottish Premier League. So it's going to be difficult. They're going to have a lot of possession, but I think the way they defend, I think Celtic could hurt them with their pace and power. Jota and Abada as well. So it's winnable. I really do believe that Celtic could win it.
Genuinely, I can't remember the last time I was this excited for a game. I think
Saturday.
So, not genuinely, I think, has there ever been a more eagerly anticipated Celtic match since maybe, I don't know, Seville? If you think about it, I just feel everything is aligned for what should be a special night, and you can just feel it. There's something special in the air, so I'm buzzing for it. I've not slept. I've been up since 5 a.m. and I've barely slept, so aye.
Just thinking about that Callum McGregor shot off the post. Yeah, I don't know how this video is going to go actually, because I don't really know exactly how I feel about last night. Maybe during the course of this video I'll arrive at a conclusion. My immediate thought is that Celtic are not a club for glorious failure. You know, if that's what you're after, go and support Scotland, or, you know, a lesser Scottish club. But we're a club built on success, and losing 3-0 at home should never be celebrated in any way. Having said that, given that last night we were up against Real Madrid, one of the best teams in Europe, you know, a terrific side, littered with terrific individual players, some of the best players we've seen over the last, 20 years in the game. And to go toe-to-toe with them for like 55 minutes and arguably have the better of the chances, to have a fair share of possession, territory, to attack them, to play our way and cause them trouble, makes me feel very, very proud. I thought Celtic were magic in that first half especially. We had big chances as well. We had the Abada one in the first minute. We had the one when Abada's played through from a brilliant Jota pass. We had the McGregor one off the post, and of course the Maida one at the start of the second half where he really has to score. I thought we, did ourselves credit, and especially at the end of the match. I mean, I found that really, really inspiring, what we witnessed from probably about the 85th minute onwards. You're 3-0 down. The game is over as a contest, and we've had that happen a fair bit over the last 10 years. AC Milan beat us 3-0, Juventus beat us 3-0. We also had even like teams like Barcelona beating us 2-0, and from my memory, all of those games, the stadium's been like deserted by full time and everyone's just silent, and last night just wasn't that. Yes, some people still left early, but the vast majority of Celtic Park stayed and sang for Postecoglou and sang for the players, and to me that felt like a genuinely important moment in this team's evolution. Hello everyone. Yes, I was hoping to be able to bring you the preview to the game against Livingston today on the channel. Unfortunately, that match, and indeed every professional football match in Scotland this weekend, has been postponed following the death of the Queen yesterday. So we go on to Wednesday night, guys. We're travelling around about 1,100 miles east to Warsaw, to Legia Warsaw's ground, where we've already played in pre-season, to face Shakhtar Donetsk. Seems like it's going to be pretty much a full house for the game, with over 25,000 tickets sold in the stadium, which holds just over 31,000.
Their best player just now is Mudryk, who I think was suspended for their weekend game, but he scored, I think it might have been one or two in the victory over Leipzig, and he's their kind of star man who's attracting a lot of interest. I know Arsenal were linked with him. But yeah, I think a lot of their players now are Ukrainian, so they might not have the same flair that they may have had in the past. And I remember our Celtic team under Martin O'Neill going over to Shakhtar back in early 2000s, and then I think likewise under Gordon Strachan as well. And twice we got beat over there in Ukraine, and quite comfortably. But they did have a number of kind of Brazilians sprinkled throughout the team, and they were a bit more of a flair team.
There was a period, of like a few days, where Shakhtar had 0 Brazilians. That was the first time in 20 years in their squad. So that just shows the influence that sort of vector has had.
Hello everyone, good evening. How are we all doing? Mixed emotions probably after that one, Stevie. On the face of it, probably a pretty decent result away to Shakhtar Donetsk. I thought in general a controlled performance. I felt, by saying that, I felt we had control of the game against a side who are Champions League regulars, and yet there's a sense of what could have been.
Yeah, hi everyone, by the way. Feels like a missed opportunity, doesn't it? I mean, when it went to 1-1, I think we were watching it in previous Celtic teams with arguably even better players individually would have collapsed after that. We didn't do that, but I felt as if that was there for the taking. We said a few weeks ago when the draw was made, when we watched it at Celtic Park, that we weren't disrespecting our opponents, but these were winnable games, Hamish, and that goes to show, because tonight that was such a winnable tie for us. I mean, look at the chances, you look at the stats, and we weren't at it when we said that, but yeah, you'll take it, I guess. It wasn't, at least we didn't lose.
Tomorrow, Sunday, Celtic are at St Mirren Park to take on St Mirren, surprisingly, and what is actually our 10th competitive match of the season. It seems like we've had far more than 10. It's hard not to feel a little bit complacent going into these games when you've seen us play so well all season and, let's face it, beat better teams than St Mirren pretty comfortably. Going away from home tomorrow against the Buddies, you do feel relatively secure that Celtic are going to get the business done. Hi everyone, how are we doing? Listen, disappointing afternoon for Celtic, our first league defeat in a year, pretty much to the day. An afternoon where it just didn't happen at all. Initial thoughts, John?
Yeah, I've picked a good one to be on today, Hamish, haven't I? I thought I'd avoided all this after the 2020-21 season, but here we are again and talking about a Celtic defeat. Not a great day. I mean, there's no glossing over it. I don't think you can really say anything to gloss over it. It was just bad across the board.
This is what the league table looks like. Yes, our gap has been reduced to just 2 points. Yesterday's defeat kind of undoes the Derby win a few weeks ago in terms of the table at least, but of course would rather still be 2 points ahead than behind. So we're still in, a relatively strong position. Right everyone, Ange Postecoglou is back in Australia for the first time since 2017. Here he is in front of the Sydney Harbour Bridge, I believe, Scott. See, I've been doing my research, just promoted the Sydney Super Cup at the moment, Ange. That's what he's doing. Is there plenty of Ange in the news down under, Scott?
Yes, there is. He's been meeting a lot of people. Obviously, it's like you said, it's been a long time since he came back to Australia. It's wonderful to have him back at this period, albeit hopefully got over a few things on that long flight back to Australia. See, after a frustrating week for him. But it's great for that. And obviously the Socceroos are playing up here in Brisbane tomorrow night as well. So there's a lot of attention around the football world at the moment. And yeah, everyone's excited about Celtic coming in November.
Ange Postecoglou's been on a mission as well, Stevie, over in Australia doing some media work. Did you catch any of his interviews over there over the last few days?
Minimal bits, John, yes, but obviously not as much as yourself, a huge Ange mark that you are. But no, certainly for what I saw, he's still talking up. I mean, he's squashing all the daft rumours about him going to Brighton and teams in England. I think me and you, John, already knew that was nonsense. Ange isn't going to go there. But at the same time, it's nice to hear that he's saying that he is in a dream job now. It's nice to hear him talking up Celtic down in Australia. And it's just all positive news surrounding Ange and Celtic. And it's a good thing, John, after the wee sort of flurry of negativity. But although it was justified, wasn't it, after that St Mirren game? But yeah, certainly after that, the manager's got, Celtic back in a positive light and people are talking the club up again after a bit of a blip last Sunday.
I am holding out hope that things are going to get very tasty from the resumption at the start of October. This is what our October looks like as I show you graphic number 1 of the video. And spoiler, yes, it's one of the most intense months I can ever remember when supporting Celtic. Right, hello everyone, we are back and looking ahead to the visit of Motherwell to Celtic Park on Saturday. I get soaked earlier, not that anyone cares. Thankfully I've had 3 points to cheer me up and dry me out a little bit. Performance not great. I get the sense we're going to have plenty to kind of touch on from today's performance that, as I say, wasn't great, but I guess the main thing is that we found a way to win, and it seemed like a big win as well given the reactions at full time.
Yeah, it was, especially going down to 10 men, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later on. But it was all about the 3 points first and foremost. I mean, 2 weeks ago it was the worst way to get into that international break. You come back for an international break and there's like a lack of cohesion, isn't there? The players have to find a rhythm again after we built up a lot of momentum, and then we ended it, the first spell, in the worst possible way, man. But, I mean, I guess it was all about the 3 points. I did want a statement performance as well, though. We didn't get that today, but, at least we did hold out. But I've certainly seen better off this Celtic team.
The winning goal comes from Real Hatate, and it's just a thing of beauty. I know you want to say a bit about Hatate. You've come to some conclusions today, is that right?
Yeah, I think. I mean, what a screamer! Yeah, it was.
Yeah. It's a genuinely
cliche again.
Arrowed away from
goal fit to win any game, all that nonsense. But it really was some strike. And I think with Hatate, I've accepted that around about me when Hatate will try some of his Hollywood passes and they don't come off. There was one we saw in the second half at 2-1. He could have just slipped in a bada, but he tried to launch it to the back post. I think Liam Kelly claimed it. Yeah. Hatate's always going to be a player where he will lose possession. There'll be some lapses in concentration, but I think his presence and him being on that park is far more vital and more positive for us than any small wee negative parts of his play.
Yeah. He had one pass in the first half, left foot over to Jota on the left wing, and it was just... I love watching him. Today wasn't his best game, but I love watching him.
I think the 5 minutes or so that I did get a signal at Celtic Park, I looked and it was you, and you just said real Hatate man, and it must have been after that pass.
5G everyone, 5G. Genuinely never want to see players sent off, because the thing that I was thinking was, I think it was 87 minutes in the clock at that stage. We still had 7-8 minutes to weather the storm with 10 men. We actually did all right with 10 men, but I just thought that was a really kind of important moment. He had to do it. There was no doubt in his mind at all. He didn't try and let the player further in and then maybe tackle. He just knew he was well off it. It wasn't his fault at all. It was Hatate's slack pass, and he just took the foul, took the red card. No complaints either. Got a standing ovation. I thought that was a proper big dog moment. RB Leipzig on Wednesday evening. It's a 5:45 p.m. kickoff Scottish time. How are we feeling about this game, Scott?
Well, look, I said just before, we need a win. Look, I'll go one step back and say we need a result. To stay within the opportunities. Obviously, a win would be nice, and it would give you real clear. Thoughts of actually reaching the last 16 and keeping in there with the likes of Shakhtar as well. But if you take something from that game and then bring it back to Celtic Park, then there's every opportunity, isn't there? So look, you talked about the defence there. That is a big concern. There has been other injuries as well since this international break. So. Look, I think the performances have been there in Europe so far, though, so I'm quite buoyant in terms of going into this game.
How are we doing? 67 Hail Hail is in Germany. I think that's the first time we've been able to say that. We're in Champions League duty, just like Celtic. Tomorrow night, we are facing RB Leipzig here at the rather nice-looking Red Bull Arena. Now, I will just admit at this stage that my surroundings probably don't look a hell of a lot like a football stadium, certainly one that's hosting a Champions League game in less than 24 hours. And the various kids that you may be able to hear cycling and skateboarding probably doesn't help that either. But this is genuinely around about 150, 200 yards away from the Red Bull Arena. It's about as close as I can get at this stage. Basically up on a hill there and slightly to the left is the Red Bull Arena. Give us a wee bit of insight on the environment Celtic are going into on Wednesday night, because some German teams, you maybe know better than me, the Champions League matches don't maybe tend to sell out at some grounds as much as they do in others. What kind of atmosphere, environment are Celtic going to be going into on Wednesday night?
I wouldn't say it's the most hostile environment you'll find in Germany. It's a new club. They've been around since 2009. And, we could get into the fact that they're not loved by too many of the other clubs in Germany because of the way they've come about. It's not the organic German members model at all. But the fans are very enthusiastic. They're happy that they have a Bundesliga club to support after so many years in the wilderness. But it's not like going to Dortmund.
Hello and welcome back to 67 Hail Hail for another reaction show. It's myself, John, hosting tonight. Hamish is in Leipzig, as you know. He was in Germany tonight watching Celtic be beaten 3-1 by RB Leipzig. A lot of raw emotions after that. I'm feeling like getting a sense of that from looking elsewhere and looking a bit at the chat tonight. Assam, how are you feeling? Are you feeling raw? What's your, immediate assessment, your honest assessment of what you just witnessed?
Yeah, it's always difficult right in the aftermath. Obviously, there's a lot of kind of emotions and you don't want to be too reactionary, but ultimately the feeling of kind of deflation and just kind of gutted. It feels like we've seen it's the same old story, in terms of we've watched this happen and it constantly kind of repeating itself, where we shoot ourselves in the foot. And it's just that feeling of what could have been again. Ultimately, I think we deserve to lose, but it's key moments in games, and it feels like we're just making the same mistakes game in, game out at this level, which you've seen we'll get punished for. So, yeah, gutted, deflated, but it's like I said to you off air as well. It feels like we've seen this story before.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't feel like something that's come completely out of the blue, to be perfectly honest with you. I totally agree with your assessment. I thought Leipzig deserved to win the game overall, but the frustrations creep in because I actually felt we were fairly in the game in that first half. I know we went into the interval 1-0 down, but we created a few chances. I know they did as well. It was a kind of competitive end-to-end match at that point for much of it, and kind of managed to hang with them for the majority of that first half, I would say, or large chunks of it at least.
After the game in midweek, you spoke about a few things. You spoke about positive mindset, bravery and experience at Champions League level. I was actually in Leipzig, and it felt like a pretty lengthy applause between you, the players and the fans after the game. Even though we were all disappointed, it all felt like we were going in the right direction. Is it just simply that this is going to take time for us to succeed at this top level?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I'm no miracle worker. I'm not, it's not like I've taken over a club that has consistently, been in the semi-finals of Champions League. It does. And we're not the only club in that situation, to be fair. There's a lot of clubs like us who, want to make an impact at Champions League level. But no, as I said last week, there's a process to getting there. And the clubs that of our size that eventually get there, it takes time. It does. I mean, and I'd love to fast track the process, and that's what I'm trying to do. And I think the way you make greater progress is by being what you said before, brave and bold and not looking to survive. So, from that perspective, of course. But look, our fans were unbelievable. That again, it felt like, we're in Glasgow as we left the hotel. It was just amazing that, and they create such a good atmosphere where they go, and they supported us unbelievably, and they're disappointed, I know, with the outcome, and that's just fans being passionate and caring. I have no issue with that, and but I think they also acknowledge that we don't go to we didn't go to Leipzig to try and survive. We went there to try and create something special. We didn't, but I think for the most part, if people see endeavour, I think they're encouraged by that.
How are you feeling about tonight?
Good. I think getting into this game tonight, like the weekend and the last minute winner, was so crucial. Getting into that, like dropping points against St Johnstone, and getting into this sort of do or die game tonight. I mean, it would have been unthinkable to drop points and get into this one as well with the pressure on us. So that last minute goal with Gigi was just it was like a real, weight off the support, weight off the team and the manager as well, getting into this one. And I do have a good feeling about it tonight. I think it's got to be. I mean, we've been looking for. I mean, we've already had like a wee moment against Shakhtar, didn't we? We really should have had a moment against Real Madrid a few weeks ago. But I think tonight we will get one.
Like a goal.
Aye, just exactly a goal and something big to celebrate.
Right, okay, everyone. Obviously, not a great night last night. A pretty deflating one. I think deflating is the word that I would use to describe the entire evening. And my mood as well, deflated. I'm not particularly angry. I'm not even upset. I'm not on the verge of tears. I'm certainly not happy or content with losing yet another game at home in the Champions League. I just felt it was a really, really deflating night, kind of all the way from start to finish, to be honest. Even the disco lights were crap. This is what the Group F table looks like at this stage, and as you can see, it doesn't make particularly pretty reading for us. We are out of qualification for the last 16.
Does it feel like we're far away, Greg, at this level?
I wouldn't say so, but it's certainly like in performances it doesn't feel that way, but certainly in results it does at the moment. Just the elite level we need to be. I've said it before. That's that ruthless word that's at both ends, and we're not quite there just yet.
You can't just expect things to happen overnight. There has been a dramatic change in fortunes at the club since Ange came in, the football and everything else. So it does, it's a different level. you know, that was evident. It's been evident in the Champions League games. You know, that they haven't been poor in terms of play or different things. It's just the levels, the quality that you need. And when you get chances at that level, you have to take it. You know, you see Angie's comments after the game, the disappointment there. But had he not been creating the chances or not laying a glove on them, and in fairness, he's had a few injury problems. Callum's been a big loss there the other night as well. Jota. But, you know, when you do make mistakes at the end, they punish you. You're switched off or do little things at that level. You know, that's why it's a Champions League, and that's what you want. You want to aspire to play at that level and do well.
Right, everyone, Celtic are back tomorrow at our wonderful ground, Celtic Park. Back in league duty in a pretty tasty match, actually, one that rarely passes without some sort of incident. It's the match that you will almost certainly not know as the Battle of the Greens.
That's more like it, Assam. We'll get right into the action here. I'm assuming you enjoyed your day supporting Celtic as much as I did.
Yeah, definitely, John. That was much more like it, much more like the Celtic that we've know and love and that we've seen earlier on in the season. And I just feel it was almost perfect, and it was just what we needed, I think, as fans and even for the players themselves, just to feel good about ourselves again. And yeah, it was pretty much flawless. Other than maybe a clean sheet, you couldn't really ask for much more on the back of the midweek game. So yeah, I was delighted. A great day out, all in, and a perfect performance and result.
Basically, today was all about James Suarez. He'll hit the headlines, you know, for a variety of reasons. You know, not just scoring a hat-trick, but also, you know, notching up 100 goals for the club. You know, one of only 30 people to do that in the entire history of the club. It's, you know, especially rare for a homegrown player to have come through the academy and do that. In all aspects, today was really a showcase for James Forrest, you know, still being a member of the squad, still being useful member of the squad, and kind of is, you know, still part of Ange Postecoglou's plans, really.
It's unbelievable. Said, like, maybe in the last kind of year, like when I've got closer, like more people have been mentioning it, and obviously with the team like doing really well, like maybe not played as much and stuff as well. So no, as I said, I'm absolutely delighted to like first start of the season, like help the boys. It was a great team performance, and obviously get another hat trick for the club and 100 goals is unbelievable.
Right, a nice, enjoyable evening in Lanarkshire, and it's not often you get to say that. Celtic are through to the last four of the, whatever it's called, Cup, the League Cup we'll call it. A 4-0 victory over Motherwell this evening. Goals from Liel Abada, Reo Hatate and Kyogo Furuhashi. And nice and easy, Stevie, would you agree with that?
Yeah, even somebody like myself, Hamish, wasn't stressed out whatsoever. I had anything to moan about in that 90 minutes, and I know we were chatting to each other sort of during that in our chat, and I think you can back me up that it was not negative whatsoever. It was a real, quite literally, a stroll in the park.
Yeah, I thought they were excellent, clinical at times as well. You know, sometimes these games can be a potential banana skin in the cup away from home, and Motherwell have been actually quite good this season so far. The new manager has come in and done well. So no, I thought it was a professional performance. You know, it could have been more as well. The keeper had some good saves.
This is the week that we see the VAR, kind of half-hearted effort there from me. But it is a big week in terms of video assistant referee. This Saturday against Hearts, it's shaping up to be a big game for a number of reasons. It always is at Tynecastle, but also because VAR is going to be making its debut in a domestic Celtic match. Right, everyone, settle yourselves down, sit down, because we've got so much to chat about. Celtic have beaten Hearts by 4-3 at Tynecastle, Stevie. We've got loads of football to chat about, loads of kind of non-football as well, and hopefully we can have a wee laugh, because it's been quite a kind of fun-filled afternoon for us. We've enjoyed the game. Thankfully, Celtic get the 3 points. What's your original take in the afternoon?
You know, in my 50 odd years on this earth, Hamish, I've got to say there's been a lot of wild football games that I have seen. I don't think any game I've ever watched with you, I don't think there's ever been any like chaos or that involved. I don't
We
think
had a
it's...
0-0 against Hibs last year.
Let's not talk about that. I think it's always been... There's never been anything chaotic or controversial, but that, I mean, is one of the wildest games of football I've ever seen Celtic involved, and not even just Celtic, just in football in general.
Move on to the big one just before half-time. Now, this is, I think, a really interesting one to weigh up because, you know, watching it, it is a stonewall penalty. It is 100% a penalty. The hand
I
comes
reacted
out.
calmly, of course.
Yeah, just as well you didn't have a pint in your hand at that stage because it would have been getting launched. It was most definitely a penalty. If we chat about Greg Taylor now, because that guy, like, I'm actually getting to the stage where I love him. I don't know if you saw the video the club put out yesterday of like the behind the scenes kind of yearly photo that they do, and Greg Taylor was a huge part of that. Again, he is, in case people don't know, I think sometimes you look at Greg Taylor and you look at him as a wee bit of an unsung hero and an honest player. He is like the heartbeat of that dressing room. I think, you know, along with Juranovic, those are the two we always hear about as being the big figures in that Celtic dressing room. He's loved by his teammates. He is a big figure, and scoring that goal today was just such a fitting goal scorer. Don't know how you feel, but I think if I was looking at that Celtic squad today, who do I want that to drop to, you know, at the back post to score the winner for a 4-3 win? 15 minutes to go at Tynecastle. Greg Taylor's top of my list. Amazing. What a moment.
Now and again, it's good to have a bit of drama. I think it gets everyone's hearts pumping a little bit. And I think you saw it from Ange at the end as well. You know, he seemed delighted with it. You know, he seemed delighted with it and seemed really ready to share that excitement and that, you know, exhilaration with the supporters after the game. You know, he has said, and people are already saying it in the chat, Ange always talks about the roller coaster, and I actually gave that, you know, he gave that in an answer to me last season when we were going into those last, you know, 10 or so games. He predicted a roller coaster, and he enjoys giving that analogy, and I think yesterday was a perfect example of it. He even said after the match in his BBC interview he would prefer to win 4-3 than 1-0. So I think, you know, Postecoglou was the happiest man in Scotland yesterday, I would suggest.
Let's chat about the game, mate, because we're looking forward to it. Listen, it's a big game for us. We want to try and get that first victory. You heard all of that stuff there from a Celtic point of view, but a big game for Shakhtar as well in terms of trying to get to the last 16 of the competition.
I think in general, you know, a frustrating night. We had chances in the game, but equally, I think if you're totally fair looking at the match, a draw is fair, and if anything, Shakhtar had that major chance and we could have been on the end of another defeat.
So if you're living under a rock, I should mention that Celtic were playing Shakhtar Donetsk at Celtic Park tonight. Drew 1-1.
Why would they be here if they hadn't seen the game?
Well,
maybe
that's
they just
true.
love us.
Maybe they just like our patter, which is very doubtful. Finished 1-1, goals from Georgios Giacomakis and Mikhailo Mudryk.
They're worth the money that they are worth for a reason, aren't they? In terms of where Celtic can compete to the likes of the Leipzigs, even Shakhtar, and then obviously you've got Real Madrid. The one thing that really, really needs to change in Celtic's fortune is that European home form. No matter what level they're playing at, for some reason Celtic Park just isn't the fortress it once was.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting going to the games. I remember years gone by when we fancied our chances against anyone, and maybe it's just modern day. I think things have changed a lot, but the atmosphere isn't the same at Celtic Park. I think at the start of the game it is. Listen, You'll Never Walk Alone is as amazing as ever. The Champions League, the roar when the anthems played, amazing as ever. In fact, the Real Madrid one's the loudest I've heard it. But certainly the last couple of matches, I think there's a real, not a fear, but there's just a kind of sense of reality amongst the support. I think that we kind of feel the way these games are going because for the last 3 or 4 times we've been in the competition, I think we've won 1 game out of 12 at home, which is crazy when you look back at what a record used to be like. Right, everyone, Livingston versus Celtic tomorrow at the Tony Macaroni Arena. I promise you I have no pasta-related puns, so let's just crack on. Penny for David Martindale's thoughts. His Livingston side currently sits 6th.
Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to 6-7 Hail Hail. I'm joined here by Assam after a fine 3-0 Celtic win in West Lothian. I just realised they got the score wrong in the title of the video, so people joining are already giving me pelters in the chat. I can confirm it was 3-0 to Celtic today. Assam, how are you doing this afternoon, and how was your viewing of the match?
Yeah, really good. A good day's work there, John. It was a game that I was a bit worried about beforehand. I know we got our victory there and broke the hoodoo towards the end of last season. But I seen Hamish mention yesterday that he was quite concerned about it as well. And it's still a difficult fixture, on the back of them getting a point last week at Ibrox as well. So it was one that I went into knowing that we'd have to be on top form, and I thought we didn't need to be at our brilliant best, but I thought it was a very disciplined, controlled, measured, professional performance from us, and at no point did I feel threatened. So yeah, really chuffed with that, because it's 3-0 away at Livingston, and we know we've struggled there in the past, so to come away with such a comfortable victory, it's very pleasing.
You mentioned the fullback today. I mean, obviously we're not going to have to go too far into this reaction. Before we mentioned Greg Taylor, who I thought was man of the match for myself.
Again,
was very good even before he set up Kyogo's goal. He was, you could almost argue he was dictating playing in that first 20 minutes and really, helping Celtic get a foothold in those central areas in that attacking area. And then, it's him who finds himself in space to turn Livingston and play in Kyogo for what was a wonderful finish.
Right, everyone, 31st of October. Pumpkin, funny looking fella, two funny looking fellas, but that's all of the Halloween chat that you're getting for today, because we're not talking pumpkin, we're talking pumping. Livingston, Celtic, 3-0. Never mind. I am en route to Madrid. That's why I'm coming to you from just outside London today. We can't even finish third in the group. I think that's a big disappointment from this campaign, is that we've got a meaningless game. I think at the very least it would have been great to beat Shakhtar and have a chance to play for something tomorrow night. I still think it's going to be interesting. I mean, as I say, Celtic playing away to Real Madrid doesn't happen every day. We're still in Madrid after last night's game. Madrid 5, Celtic 1. Obviously not a good result, obviously not a good campaign overall when you look at the table. 2 points is our lowest total ever from the Champions League. Yeah, I get the impression that doesn't tell half of the story. They must just think, let's get back here, and imagine we could start going to, alright, maybe not the Bernabeu, but grounds like the Red Bull Arena and, Shakhtar playing in Warsaw and teams like that, and get results there and give these fans exactly what they deserve. Now, being in the Champions League is what we deserve, but equally getting results at this level is what we deserve. So for me, throughout the campaign, I know it's cliched, but the Celtic support have been, our best players. We are, as Ange says, a Champions League support. I think we should take so much pride in the way we back our team, regardless of the score. I mean, we've taken 2 points from 18. And the fans, have still been singing, singing the team forward basically at the end of every game. I think next season, if we only get 2 points, it won't be quite as special. But as I say, I think being back at the Champions League has meant so much to every Celtic fan, and we just need to be back next season. And I just need to get back home now and get my throat back to normal. We are standing in a new position at Celtic Park. We thought we'd mix it up today, keep you on your toes after quite an interesting game today. I don't know about you, Stevie, but I don't want to say I was falling asleep for the vast majority of it, but I certainly wasn't fully engrossed as I have been, and yet we had one of the most dramatic finishes at Celtic Park for a good while.
Yeah, immediately I was reminded after the game, it was like a game in 1996 against Dundee United.
1996?
Against Dundee United.
You've got an obvious example last year, the Alabada, but he goes for 1996.
Because it was two quick-fire goals though, Van Hooydonk and Tom.
Okay.
And then we had Kyogo and Abada against Dundee United, so it was like some comparison there. But that was some finish to a game after, it was a bit of a turgid second half at points. Those last 10 minutes were just incredible, and it wasn't helped with the fact in the first half it was so stop-start thanks to our good pals at a certain house, which I will not criticise.
Is that them that's letting off fireworks tonight? I think they had a successful
They've been
afternoon.
dieted, did
They only got 20 decisions wrong this afternoon across 2 games, so they're letting off fireworks apparently tonight. That's Clydesdale House for you, I guess. The atmosphere for the second half I thought it was very subdued, as quiet as I've heard Celtic Park. But when we get that, here we go, big one. Whoa!
Another subscriber for the channel.
Well, we don't let off fireworks. Yeah, we get that late winner, and the atmosphere after that's incredible. The stadium is, absolutely jumping, and I just think it was really, really big today as well. I mean, I would love to have won 5-0, but almost winning it that dramatic way is kind of the perfect way to sign off from the European stuff and really just look at 2 more games to go before the World Cup, and we've got 2 winnable games now, and bare minimum you're going to be 4 points clear going at the World Cup.
Aye, the big one is now just making sure that we have got maximum points going into that World Cup break, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to beat Motherwell Ross County. Again, not to sound arrogant about it, but it's just realistic. We've got a team to do it, one last sort of push over the line and make sure we're in a really healthy position at the end. But I just want to say as well, talk about the scenes and how special it is, like down at that area.
They ran over to you, didn't they?
Right over that 102 section. I've seen so many over the years. Like I talked about the Tom one that happened there back in '96, but even Scott McDonald ran there against AC Milan.
Yep.
Venegur ran there, and that's still my favourite ever game. And that today, the players just sprinting at that bit in the corner. It was just amazing. I love it.
Right, okay everyone, job done for Celtic tonight. A 2-1 victory at Fir Park. An early goal from Kyogo, a late one from Dyson Maida. Gets the job done. Another victory, John. We can tick it off. 1 to go before the World Cup break. And everything is well.
Everything's well from a Celtic's perspective, but to be honest with you, Hamish, now, I don't like to come into these things fizzing, and I don't like to moan about refereeing too much, but I was pretty wound up by some of the stuff I saw tonight at Fir Park. We've got the win, we've got the 3 points, but honestly sick to death with what VAR is supposed to be, what it's for, what the point of it is, and I'm not that happy to be frank with you. But yeah, from a Celtic perspective, good 3 points. Moving into the final game before the break, remaining 7 points clear. If we go into, a 4 or 5 week break, 7 points clear, that is absolutely perfect for the first section of the season.
A couple of updates that we have on the whole Motherwell incident in midweek. Update 1 is that Celtic want clarification from the SFA over Jota's offside, and more particularly why there was no footage from the Motherwell half. Update 2 kind of sorts that out. This is the interesting one. Apparently the image from the Motherwell half wasn't shown because, wait for this Joe, the camera wasn't focused on the play at that time. Instead it was focused on a close-up of the managers. I guess the issue here is that these cameras are kind of have dual use. The first use being that they're used for VAR, and also they're used for broadcasting purposes, which is, I think, the way it works around the world. I think even in England they do that, but the difference is that with just 6 cameras, which is all we have for non-broadcast games in Scotland, it's kind of a watered down version. You're kind of reliant on them watching the play at all times. I mean, what's your thoughts on this? Is there any way around this?
Well, that's absolutely ridiculous. If you've got VAR in the stadium, it's got to be set out right. There's no point you zooming into managers and missing an opportunity like that.
Celtic are how many points clear at the top of the Premiership?
9, I believe, Hamish. After that.
9's a lovely number, isn't it, everyone? Lovely number. How are you feeling, Asim?
Brilliant. Honestly, we've been saying it all week. It was just a case of getting these wins under our belts and try to keep the lead at 7 is what we thought at the time.
Yeah.
And then to come into the game, obviously with them dropping points, you're just like, right, let's get this win. And going behind, again, we showed great character in that second half, and I thought that really just galvanised the support, and I thought the second half we showed really good character to come back, and just delighted. You felt it at the end as well, didn't you?
Amazing. Listen, we'll come on to all that.
I get carried away.
I want to apologise right away. My voice is not quite 100%. Who we blame that on? David Munro, I think his name was, the referee today. Almost a follow on from last week here, and this Celtic team, no matter what you throw at them, officials wise, opposition wise, they find a way to overcome it. We're 9 points clear. Celebrations at full time are amazing. I think there's part of it is that it feels like a kind of a full stop at this stage in terms of we're not going to see the team play a competitive match, I think, for over a month, certainly here. And and I think there's a point where you do look at the league table and you kind of look at the first. I know John said it's not quite half a season. It's not far off. I mean, it's 15 games, which is it's more than a third of the season.
Within a week of coming back, we'll have probably played 18 games.
So we're 9 points clear. We're not going to make any major statements here, of course. We'd never do that in the channel. In fact, I'm going to make a major statement. I know we kind of we shy away from saying anything that might come back to bite us. I'm going to say it.
Is that Gio?
I'm going to say it. You spoiled my moment there.
Sorry.
I think Celtic are going to be top at Christmas. Honestly, I really do. I think we're going to be top at Christmas, mate. I
Bold
know
statement.
It might be out there, but I've just got a feeling we're going to be top at Christmas.
That's a bold one.
Genuinely though, how about the overall campaign? 9 points clear.
So you compare it to this time last season. What were we going in 6 behind?
Yeah,
it's just a brilliant position to be in, and you can only see. I mentioned it earlier. I can only see us getting better after the break. And that's with us won 14 out of 15 games. But I think now that obviously Europe's totally out of the picture, who knows whether there'll be further recruitments in January as well.
I think there will be.
We've got, I think, is it 3 games before the January window?
Yes, we've got Aberdeen's our first game back,
and it's just nice going into and obviously we've got to play them in the after New Year at Ibrox, but it's just nice to go in with such a big cushion because the amount of pressure that's on them now,